Neil Cavuto, #1 in news this hour. #1 in business, period. You're watching Your World.
Meanwhile, pending home sales rising for a second straight month. But with all of this Washington help pending, as Pat was talking, will all that have the kibosh put on it? Realtor extraordinaire Dolly Lenz joins us right now. Dolly, we are seeing in some areas housing regaining its traction. What does this do? Talk of forestalling foreclosures.
It delays the recovery. You know, we really need to move on, absorb all the foreclosures, put them in the system, absorb them, and move on so that we know where the real levels are, which we have no clue now where that is.
So this just delays the agony.
Exactly. It postpones the agony.
But there is something to be said of those folks who were getting their homes foreclosed on, and those doing the foreclosing weren't even reading the paperwork. I've heard of cases where people were not, doing anything nefarious. They might have missed a payment or two, but with proper explanation, and they would not have gone into the foreclosed pile, as it were. So these so-called robo-lenders and signers, as they're known, had not read the documents, much as people didn't read their documents going into this mess a couple of years ago. So there might be some legitimacy to just cooling it. What do you make of that?
I mean, there's no question there's some legitimacy for some people, and everyone should stand up for their own interests and have attorneys review things and know what they're doing when they go into it and know that what they're doing is they're getting out of it. There's no question of that. However, it's still going to forestall the whole recovery. There's no question of that either. I think banks should really get on board, review everything they're doing, and say, you know what, we don't need a robo-signer. We are going to do, our diligence as we should do, and they should have staffs to do. Maybe they should hire some people. What do you think?
Then what happens to housing prices in this interim? Do they start sliding again? Do they stabilize because people aren't foreclosing now? What?
I think countrywide, look, with less foreclosures, obviously prices will seem to bump up a little bit because those are the ones weighing down the market price-wise. However, activity-wise, we'll have less activity. So it's a little of something, a little less of something else. So I think that all balances out. I do think it psychologically impacts the market negatively because people know why it's happening.
So people know this is an artificial high.
Exactly.
So then if you're in a home and you're looking for your home to appreciate, or you're in a neighborhood and you're looking for the homes in your neighborhood to appreciate, if you're right, and you've been uncannily right through this whole ordeal, you're saying don't hold your breath. It's not going to happen.
Don't hold your breath, and I'd say don't hold your breath potentially now through entire 2011. Unless something happens, unless we get some confidence from somewhere, unemployment is fixed, something is done. I don't see any good signs out there.
All right, so it's got to be the jobs thing. That's got to pick up.
That's number one. Yep. Okay. And then also, the tax thing and everyone knowing what foot they're on. We don't know.
Well, we don't know a lot. Dolly Lenz, thank you very much. Dolly Lenz.
Thank you.
Prudential Douglas Elliman, the realtor extraordinaire.